Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, getting rid of gridlock in one of the most congested parts of town. The big change coming tonight to an often hectic 163 Friars Road exit. We'll show you what drivers can expect. And more changes coming for scooters in San Diego, how the city might revoke the permit for a major scooter company.
Just because, we want to shove these people through the system, we don't cut corners in the criminal justice system. You just don't do that.
Thousands of illegal border crossing convictions could be thrown out. Why a federal judge says the cases were mishandled. And the primary is still more than 6 months away. But tonight, one of the candidates for San Diego's race could pick up a key endorsement. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. It's Tuesday, August 20th. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Ebony Monet. A major traffic change starts in a few hours. It involves one of the most congested areas in the county. Caltrans is set to permanently close the off-ramps that lead from 163 to Friars Road in Mission Valley. If you've driven that area, you already know just how backed up it can be. KPBS reporter Priya Sridhar is there now live with a look at traffic. Priya.
Yeah, Ebony, that ramp is set to close permanently tonight at 9 p.m. A brand new traffic signal is set to debut tomorrow morning at 5 a.m., just in time for your busy morning commute. If you live in this area, you're probably used to the traffic.
Just about every day it's horrible. Every day it's horrible. It needs to change.
Change has come. Starting Tuesday at 9 p.m., the northbound 163 off-ramp to Friars Road will be closed for good. And Wednesday morning at 5 a.m., all traffic will be diverted to the westbound Friars Road exit.
This traffic signal is brand new. It's just on the east side of the bridge.
There will also be a brand new traffic light on Friars. Caltrans officials say these changes will cut down on traffic and make the roads safer. Drivers won't have to cut through 5 lanes of traffic to make a turn.
And the main reason for that is to eliminate some of the weaving issues. So there's going to be a new signalized intersection on Friars Road that's just east of the bridge. That's so the traffic will stop, and then there's going to be left turn signal for people to go on northbound 163.
The westbound Friars Road exit will open with 2 lanes. By November, Caltrans says it will widen to 3.
It's going to make it easier to move, so people will notice, hey, I'm not crossing as many lanes of traffic. You're not going to see people stopping in the middle of Friars Road, stopping because they're trying to get over.
But drivers in Mission Valley aren't convinced just yet.
The ramp closing is going to be kind of difficult. Like everything around here, there's grocery shops and everything. So if I come down here and I'm at the wrong time and I'm trying to come right back, I can't, and I'll have to go all the way around. So it's kind of really inconvenient.
And Caltrans warns drivers who frequent this area to leave a little extra time over the next few days as drivers in this area try to get used to the new traffic pattern changes. Reporting live from Mission Valley, Priya Sridhar, KPBS News.
Sounds like great advice. Thanks, Priya. Thousands of illegal border crossing convictions could be tossed out. A federal court has ruled the U.S. Attorney's Office acted improperly. More now from KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler.
It was May of last year when then U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions came to the border wall here in San Ysidro to announce the Department of Justice's new zero-tolerance policy.
If you cross the border unlawfully, then we will prosecute you. It's that simple.
Previously, the U.S. Attorney's Office had not made much of a priority of prosecuting misdemeanor illegal entry. By the time of Sessions' announcement, however, prosecutions for illegal entry had already begun to climb in the district, overwhelming the courts and nearby federal jails, with people who had previously been quickly turned over to the custody of Immigration and Customs Enforcement. It was then that the chief judge in the district finally allowed for the creation of Operation Streamline, a fast-track prosecution program that aims to arraign, convict, and sentence border crossers in a matter of minutes.
Starting last July, some people caught crossing the border illegally were brought here to a converted garage beneath the federal building where they met with their attorneys before being brought to a courtroom to plead guilty en masse to misdemeanor illegal entry.
At first, prosecutors were charging upwards of 50 people a day. But last month, the Ninth Circuit ruled that almost all of the prosecutions during the first year of the program were improper. Prosecutors, the court found, had charged individuals under the wrong statute. Chuck LaBella is a former U.S. attorney in the district who's now in private practice.
If you read the decision, you can see the pain and you can feel the pain of the judge saying, look, I sympathize with the prosecutors. I sympathize with what they're up against and what they're being asked to do. But you got to fly right. Just because we want to shove these people through the system, we don't cut corners in the criminal justice system. You just don't do that.
The mistake that prosecutors had made, according to the Ninth Circuit, was that they charged misdemeanor illegal entry under a subsection meant to only apply to people who elude inspection at ports of entry, not between them. The vast majority of people caught crossing the border do so by hopping over a border fence or crossing through the desert. The U.S. Attorney's Office did not respond to repeated requests for comment for this story. A source close to the office, however, tells KPBS that the decision to charge under the wrong law was made by prosecutors concerned about defendants arguing that, because they were being watched by Border Patrol agents when they crossed the border, they didn't actually elude inspection. Proving that a border crosser wasn't being watched generally requires Border Patrol agents and other officials to testify. Using the other section of the law, they wouldn't have to prove that. Ruben Camper-Khan was the executive director of the Federal Defenders of San Diego until shortly after Operation Streamline was installed in the district last summer. He believes this charging decision is one of the many ways prosecutors have tried to deprive immigrants of their right to a fair shot at justice.
If there's anything that would be more exemplary of a denial of due process than denying somebody a substantive defense that the law allows you, I can't think of it.
Carol Lamb is another former U.S. attorney in the Southern District of California. She says this type of decision is common for prosecutors who seek to undermine certain defenses, which might slow the process down when making a charging decision.
What you look for is the most efficient way to do as much as possible. You want to do things as efficiently as possible for your own prosecutors and for the agents, the ICE agents and the Border Patrol agents, so that they can not only do more cases, but they can do more sophisticated cases.
Over the past year, more than 4,000 people were charged improperly, according to the Ninth Circuit's decision. For over 400 immigrants convicted under the wrong subsection who are now appealing their cases, the charges can most likely be quickly dropped after a request by their lawyer. For the thousands who have not appealed their cases, the path ahead is much more complicated because they've already been deported. Today, Operation Streamline has slowed down considerably and operates at nowhere near the prosecution rates once envisioned by former Attorney General Jeff Sessions. But the impact of these decisions by both officials in Washington and prosecutors in San Diego will leave a mark on the U.S. Attorney's Office, says former Office Chief LaBella.
It's a blemish on law enforcement when a court of appeals reverses saying you're using the wrong statute, and you're using the wrong statute because it's easier rather than it's the right statute. It's an embarrassment for law enforcement.
The U.S. Attorney's Office has until September 6th to appeal the Ninth Circuit's decision. Max Rivlin-Adler, KPBS News.
Meanwhile, Customs and Border Protection says it won't provide flu shots for migrant families. Today, the agency said the decision is due to the short-term nature of holding detainees and the complexities of operating a vaccination program. Members of Congress, on the other hand, have raised concerns about contagious diseases at these facilities. Thousands of San Diego-based troops have served in the war on terror, but now a recent Pentagon report warns of the resurgence of ISIS in Iraq and Syria. Whitney Wild has more from Washington.
There are growing concerns about the resurgence of ISIS in the wake of a deadly attack by the terror group on a wedding party in Afghanistan. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo seems to be downplaying the risk.
We executed a plan with 80 other countries to defeat ISIS. We were very successful.
Pompeo told CBS News that campaigns against ISIS wiped away most of the group's physical boundaries.
What we've always said is the caliphate's been gone and that there's always risk that there'll be a resurgence, not just from ISIS.
But a Pentagon Inspector General's report issued earlier this month indicates the risk is already a reality. It shows ISIS is deepening its hold on Iraq and resurging in Syria, a troubling development since President Donald Trump announced a drawdown of U.S. forces in Syria. Rear Admiral John Kirby, CNN military and diplomatic analyst, says the report is clear.
It means that ISIS remains a viable terrorist network.
A camp near the border with Iraq, which houses tens of thousands of people displaced by violence, is especially vulnerable. The report points out as troops head home, monitoring the camp is difficult. ISIS views the displaced Syrians there as potential new recruits. And the terror group's ideology is spreading fast.
There's virtually no security. As a matter of fact, ISIS elements inside that camp are, in fact, providing security.
In Washington, Whitney Wild, KPBS News.
San Diego County Democratic Party members will meet tonight to decide whether to endorse a candidate for mayor. A decision would open the door for funding to help one of three candidates. They include Assemblyman Todd Gloria, Congresswoman Barbara Bree, and community activist Tasha Williamson. Gloria recently picked up the endorsement of Governor Gavin Newsom. Local law enforcement joined others from around the state at the memorial service today of CHP Officer Andre Moya.
Only imagine.
A procession of vehicles and motorcycles made its way to the Harvest Christian Fellowship in Riverside, where the 34-year-old Moya was remembered. He was shot and killed while conducting a traffic stop August 12th. The gunman was also killed. Officer Moya leaves behind his wife, Sarah. A follow-up tonight on the police use of force bill written by San Diego Assemblywoman Shirley Weber. Reporter Laura Rosenthal of Cal Matters explains what it took to get the law passed and what it means for police and the public.
On average, California police shoot and kill someone every 2 to 3 days. That's higher than the national average, even considering California's size. After several high-profile cases of police shooting unarmed people, state lawmakers decided to act.
I vote for AB 392.
That measure passed.
They passed a new law tightening the standard for when police can use deadly force.
Here's what the new law means for Californians and police. When prosecutors decide if a police shooting is justified, they typically turn to a legal standard set by the United States Supreme Court in 1989.
Your argument next to number 87.
Essentially, it says an officer's use of force must be reasonable. Would a reasonable officer in the same circumstances do the same thing? If so, the shooting may be justified. Police see this reasonable standard as a critical legal protection they need to perform a dangerous job. Civil rights advocates see it as a squishy standard that's failed to hold many officers accountable for unnecessary killings. With the new law, California is going beyond the reasonable standard to limit when police can shoot. Officers can now only use deadly force when necessary in defense of human life. The law says officers are supposed to shoot only if there's an imminent threat of death or serious injury. It also says that in determining if a shooting is justified, authorities must look at the behavior leading up to the shooting of both the subject and the officer. That's supposed to encourage police to de-escalate situations whenever possible.
We want to thank all of our sponsors and our supporters and
the
those
new
who
law is a win
fought
for
so
civil
hard
rights advocates who've wanted to restrict police use of deadly force for a long time. But to get the bill through the legislature, they had to compromise with police. In the compromise, lawmakers took out a definition of the word necessary. This means a lot of the power of the new law is largely going to be determined by the courts. In future cases, it'll be up to them to decide what necessary means. They also incorporated ideas from the Supreme Court's reasonable standard.
So the new question for deciding if a shooting is justified will basically be, would a reasonable officer think it was necessary?
After the compromise, police dropped their opposition to the bill, and a few civil rights groups, including Black Lives Matter, pulled their support. The law goes into effect on New Year's Day 2020. And here's one more thing you should know. California lawmakers also advanced a police-backed bill about deadly force. It will give officers more training about the new standard, as well as things like bias and alternatives to firing their guns.
For Cal Matters, I'm Laurel Rosenhall.
I'm John Yang. Tonight on the NewsHour, a change at the top. CEOs of the nation's top companies say social concerns should be as important as profits. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Putting the brakes on electric scooters. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says the city of San Diego wants to revoke the permit of a popular scooter company.
We're going to hold people accountable.
The city is starting the process of revoking scooter company Lime's permit to operate in San Diego.
Look, we've established very clear rules of the road when it comes to scooters, and I absolutely expect those rules to be followed by every single company.
New rules went into effect last month. They require companies to use technology called geofencing to limit speeds in certain areas, like Mission Beach. The city says Lime has violated these new speed rules at least 3 times, but Lime does not agree.
I have reassured them that we are compliant, and we're working with the city to demonstrate that we are, and we're committed to that.
Lime says news of the city trying to revoke the company's operating permit has left employees confused.
Waking up to news like that, it's not pleasant. We employ about 130 full-time staff, not to mention about 3,000 gig economy workers that are on a weekly basis coming to us. They rely on us on income.
There are at least 5 scooter companies operating in San Diego. The city wouldn't say if it's looking to revoke any other permits, but it expects all companies to obey the rules.
And I'm going to absolutely hold everybody to those standards. I think we've seen most of the companies really comply. That's exactly what we want. But we're going to hold everybody accountable. And that's very clear, and I'm going to continue to be very clear about that.
Lime says it is fulfilling an important community need. People in San Diego have taken more than 3 million rides on its scooters.
Public transport is not always there. We're here to fill that gap.
So will Lime scooters stay or go in San Diego? The city says a hearing will be held next month to determine the company's future here. In Mission Beach, Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Lime will keep operating its permit while it goes through this process. If it loses the hearing, though, the company would have to wait at least 6 months before applying for another permit. Caltrans is closer to building a wildlife bridge over a major Southern California freeway. The bridge will be built over the 101 near Malibu. It's now in its final design phase. The project will cost $87 million, but most of it will come from private fundraising led by the National Wildlife Federation.
And I think that's cool that 300,000 people a day are going to drive under this crossing that wildlife will be walking over. And to me, that's the perfect way that wildlife and people can coexist. We're not taking the freeway away from people. They can still drive, yet we're doing this beautiful thing for animals so that they don't get hit by cars and so that they can have a future.
GPS tracking of the mountain lions in the area found roads can be a barrier to the animals roaming their habitat. The bridge is expected to be complete in 2023. It's only Tuesday, but for those of us with our eyes already set on the weekend, the weather will continue to be warm and sunny through this weekend. Erin Calandra has tonight's forecast.
We are seeing some beautiful weather here across San Diego County on the radar, the satellite. Not much going on here. It is quiet. We have a lot of sunshine, a few clouds around, especially along the coast. But much of California and also the Southwest staying dry, sunny, and pleasant. Now, once you get into the deserts, it's pretty hot. Taking a look at the temperature tonight in the metro, 66 degrees. You'll notice those clouds building as they usually do. And you'll see them in the morning, but by the afternoon, long gone. Ocean City at 63 tonight, San Diego 66. El Cajon, 63 degrees, and in Borrego Springs, 79 for that low temperature. It's going to be hot in the deserts, cooler along the coast with that influence off of the Pacific. Our beach communities are going to stay beautiful. Lots of sunshine for everyone. And for tomorrow, Oceanside up to 78 degrees. Couple of clouds around, but lots of sunshine. In Ramona, we're up to 96, getting warm. And in the mountains, 86 degrees. It's going to be nice and sunny. Now, this pattern is going to last through late week. Not a whole lot going on here in Southern California. Notice we do have the return of that moisture for monsoon season. That's good news because it's been pretty weak this year and the deserts could use all that rain. So we'll see a couple of scattered showers and storms way off to the east of us. Here we are at the coast. The next couple of days, it's going to be sunny with a few clouds. Our temperatures will be hovering in those mid to upper 70s. Inland, this is going to be the warmest day of the week. Wednesday, we're at 91, and then the rest of the week, we're in the 80s. So feeling a lot more comfortable out there with some sunshine. And in the deserts, we're in the 100s, but getting cooler. We go from 114 all the way down to 102 by Sunday. And it's going to be dry and sunny and in the mountains. We're in the 80s. Each day we get a bit cooler, down to those upper 70s for the weekend. And again, it's going to remain dry and sunny. For KPBS News, I'm Erin Calandra. Back to you.
That's great. This week is the beginning of the school year for an estimated 53,000 San Diego Community College students. Among the biggest issues they face besides classes is how to pay for them. I had a chance to sit down with Dr. Constance Carroll, Chancellor of the Community College District, to talk about tuition and other major factors facing students this year. So thanks so much for joining us. Can you tell us about any exciting new programs or certificates?
Yes. First of all, the 53,000 students is already swelled to about 58,000. We're expecting 66,000 at City College, Mesa College, and Miramar College. And then after Labor Day on September the 3rd, we will have another 45,000 students who will be enrolling in our adult education program. So we're on our way to another record 100,000 plus students.
Can you tell us about the expansion of the San Diego Promise program, which makes the community college option even more affordable?
So we started with a pilot program just 3 years ago, and with 186 students. And now with some state funding and a great deal of generous funding from our donors in the community, we already have 3,001 students enrolled in the program. And the program, which has expanded enormously, provides free tuition for students who want to go on a full-time basis. It provides books, free textbooks, and as you probably know, textbooks are oftentimes more expensive for students than the tuition itself, and also other services, special counseling, special peer group sessions, and so these students tend to outperform other students in the regular program. So this, the San Diego Promise has been just one of the hallmarks of our district.
And speaking of performance, any idea how many students actually receive an associate's degree from the community college system and then move on to a four-year degree?
What happens, or two things happen. Last year, 5,000 students, just about, received associate degrees. Almost 8,000 students received certificates of achievement that allows them to go into work. And other students simply transfer without the associate degree. So our graduating class last year was about 12,000, and many of whom transferred to San Diego State. What's interesting is when they come here, and I was talking with your new president, Dr. Adela de la Torre, who was happy to share with me the news that the transfer students have the highest graduation rates at SDSU in addition. So our students are well prepared and very serious about their future. They're not spoiled. They are students with an average age of 29 who are very, very serious about their future.
And in the past, community college systems had to overcome a stigma of being a place that was someplace that the students there, that was the only place they could go, only place that they had been accepted. Does that stigma still persist? And if so, what is San Diego Community College system doing to overcome it?
What we do, and that's a good question, is promote and inform the public of what the facts are. For example, I just mentioned the graduation rate for transfer students is one of them. If you reverse it and look at all of the graduates in the Cal State University system, about 60% of them are transfer students. In the University of California students system, about 40% are transfer students. So what we try to do is inform the public of the fact that community colleges are not only accessible and low cost, but they have high quality. And so that they can, once they get to a community college, count on two things: an excellent job, if that's the route they want to take, and a successful transfer experience if they decide to go to one of the universities.
Chancellor Carroll, thanks so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Helping students in need. That was the goal of an event today at Horton Elementary, where local leaders joined Wont San Diego to help fill backpacks for disadvantaged students.
We also have families who have trauma that they experience from living across the border. And so when we have community partners to come to support us, it really helps fill in the gap. It helps our students and our families feel supported.
More than 6,000 San Diego Unified School District students experienced homelessness last year. Today's We Have Your Back campaign donated 3,700 backpacks full of supplies just in time for the new school year. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.